Good day, everyone. Welcome to Real Conservative News. I'm your host, Nathaniel Rajkumar. Starting off locally here in Trinidad and Tobago, the University of Trinidad and Tobago, UTT, is facing public backlash following its official African Emancipation Day event. Now, before I titled UHURU, now before I go on, now let me just remind people, all years while we were growing up, we knew it as Emancipation Day. And it was understood that it was the day when the African slaves around the Caribbean, but here in Trinidad and Tobago, were freed from slavery. Matter of fact, the British were one of the first to free slaves from slavery. Right? Right. And here people despise the British and whatever. But nevertheless. And then we knew about Indian Arrival Day. But then who came? I just want to ask the PNM people this question. I want to show you all your side of the hypocrisy. I'm not just going to show the UNC side all the time, people. I want to show the PNM side as well. Who it was that decided to change it from Indian Arrival Day to Arrival Day? Can you all remember? I highly doubt it was the UNC. Wasn't it the PNM that changed it from Indian Arrival Day to Arrival? And yet this hypocrite Rowley came a few years ago and decided to rename it from Emancipation Day to African Emancipation Day, as though people did not already know that it was African slaves that were freed on that day. All because why? We live in a multicultural nation. We have two main ethnic groups in Trinidad and Tobago, the Africans and the East Indians, right? And therefore, a lot of the times, while the East Indians are celebrating the day, they might have their little, they're using the culture as well, because they believe that the Ganges really came and meet the Nile. Ganges come meet the Nile, and yeah, but it seems it's only a song. It's really only a song, right? So he come now and he said, oh, no, we don't want anybody talking about indentureship on Emancipation Day. I'm just paraphrasing him. I'm not saying that's exactly what he said. I'm just saying it's to that context then, right? So he decided make it African Emancipation Day. And that's what CNC3 highlighted, I think it was last night, that, that is why Dr. Rowley, Emperor Thanos Rowley, as I call him, but Dr. Rowley decided to name it African Emancipation as though people didn't already know that. So there was public backlash held at the National Academy for the Performing Arts. I'm just showing you all how people are so obsessed with tribalism on both sides here in Trinidad and Tobago in this day and age. And the young people don't really give a crap, the young people don't really study it that much, until the elders start to fill their minds with poison, I saw a video with this man who does do the talking to the people. I just can't remember his what you say or some kind of thing. I can't remember, right? What do you know or some kind of thing so. And he was asking some youths and them about Emancipation Day, and they said that it was about the freedom of the African people or whatever, but they didn't say it in the right historical sort of terms. They didn't use the proper terms, right? But it showed that, maybe their parents aren't really that obsessed with their past. And that is why I don't think it was really about education. Because it's not really about education. That people in their homes, they usually teach their children about these type of things. And therefore, maybe those parents, I don't know if they're Christians or what, and therefore they're more focused on their own lives and who they are as Trinidadians. And you're going to see it in the youths in their mind, in their faces and stuff like that. It wasn't just about ignorance. It wasn't that they really didn't know. And they were telling themselves, because the way they talked about African, they were looking at the African people as of a different time. Because in their minds, I'm just saying, they looked as though they were telling the guy, oh, we are Trinidadians. We are Trinidadians. Now, I'm not saying not to value your heritage. Not to value and remember the past. But it's how people are obsessed with it. Older generations especially are obsessed with it. And they still continue to promote and push this kind of segregation. And the younger people just don't really study that much until once again, the elders always until the elders realize, oh good, they're forgetting about we past, we gotta put it in their head. We gotta instill it into them. Granny and grandpa and mommy decide, oh God, now you only forgetting we heritage, so come to do darling. We fill your mind with a whole set of poison about the other side, and poison about the colonials and all kind of thing like that. While you said them, all they're really studying about is getting a job and just living normal with everybody. I'm not saying that the youths don't have their own prejudice ways. All I'm saying is they're not as obsessed with it as the older generations until elders come and start to fill their minds with a set of nonsense. But of course, don't get me wrong, social media, especially TikTok, fills their minds with a lot of poison as well. But some youths, like the ones that, as I tell you, I don't think it was really about the education. I believe in their minds, I'm a Trini. That's what I am. Yes, I'm an African. I'm an Afro-Trini, but I'm a Trini most of all. And that's what's supposed to matter the most. I am a Trinidadian above everything else. I'm a mixed Trinidadian. And I value the heritage from all my different ancestors. My white ancestors, my Chinese ancestors, and my East Indian ancestors. I value all of them. But most of all, number one, I'm a child of God and I'm a new creation in Jesus Christ. Where none of these things really matter anymore. That is most of all. And number two, I'm a Trinidadian. And anywhere I go in the world, in the future, if God blesses me with money, what I'm representing is me as a Trini. Not as what race I am, but as a Trinidadian. People talk that talk, but they don't walk the walk in this country. And all other people will be saying, but get back on, get on with the news now. Yeah, but as I keep telling people, my channel is Real Conservative News, but it's basically a talk show. And if people appreciate that, then they will continue to support it. The event aimed to honor African heritage and the end of slavery through dance, music, and theatrical readings, which it did. However, public debate erupted after the program included a classical Indian dance performed by Susan Mohip and a traditional tassa drumming display by the Shiv Sangeet School of Music. Video clips of the performances quickly spread across social media, where many citizens expressed concern and disappointment. Yeah, because as I tell you, everything is about race, segregation, especially in the older generations, my generation and up. Critics, including social activist David Mohammed, I'm not surprised. David Mohammed is always pushing these type of things. I'm not surprised that David Mohammed said anything about this to begin with. Argue that Emancipation Day should focus strictly on African history, struggles, and culture. Yeah, Bob Marley didn't even understand his own song, Emancipate yourself from mental slavery. He sang it and yet he didn't really understand it either. Didn't really understand it fully. He was beginning to understand it, but he didn't fully understand it either. Because he was still obsessed with Babylon system and the white man and the blah, 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 blah. So he didn't really emancipate himself either. Everything, you're focusing on the past instead of the future. Becoming one people. Like in Jamaica, one people, and yet they don't behave like that. They don't behave like that at all. Opponents of the decision pointed out that Trinidad and Tobago has dedicated holidays for other cultural groups, arguing that combining traditions dilutes the specific historical significance of honoring enslaved and African ancestors. People honoring it, people just remembering that while y'all were freed, just around that same time, East Indians were introduced into the country to be able to continue working on the plantations and so forth. And they endured a lot of hardship as well. It wasn't easy for them. To an extent, they were treated almost like slaves as well. I'm not saying it is the same thing. I'm not saying the same thing at all. We all know that the African people endured hundreds of years of that type of treatment. East Indians, it only lasted for a certain amount of time. But nevertheless, they could relate to what you endured to an extent. And then it was the introduction of these two completely different types of people and cultures that came together once again. Jihaji Bhai, Brotherhood of the Boat, and Ganges come midnight. A bunch of hypocrites sing these songs. Really and truly. Because as much as I love David Rudder, and I'm truly saddened by how, he has certain health conditions and stuff like that now. He's one of my favorite artists from ever. Calypso artist. But he was always about the white man this and the white man that too and all kind of thing. But nevertheless, so these people sing about unity. And then when it's time to really show it, a set of problems. In response to the feedback, the university clarified and listened to it. And it was, I don't care if it's, UTT state and it will be under the control of the Kamla and whatever. People, I have my big problems with the Kamla administration, and I will continue to hold them accountable. I keep telling people something clearly. You see, when I want to speak the truth about something, which I always do, no matter which side is offended, suffer to be so. So in response to the feedback, the university clarified that the production was designed to honor the legacy of emancipation while showing how African heritage shapes the wider national identity. Our cultures intermixed, people. A lot of our music today is a combination of both the East Indian heritage and the African heritage and others, the white influence, the Chinese influence. All you're just obsessed with all your own heritage alone, and yet calling all of these Trinis. All of these Trinis, yes, but you all don't actually think that way. And you all prove it over and over again, year after year. And you will see my commentary. I'm not just talking about the African Trinidadians, Afro-Trinidadians. It's the East Indians as well. And you will hear it in my commentary just now. Government officials present at the event also defended the programming, stating that the shared histories of African emancipation and Indian indentureship both contributed to the nation's value of resilience and unity. Exactly. I'm not defending the Kamla administration for just defending sake. It's reality that as I saw it, I understood that as much as it probably might have looked a little weird, the reality is it was to show that these two diverse people, these two different types of people met each other around that same time. It wasn't the exact day, but around that same time. And we have become who we are today when it pertains to our culture and our foods because of these two people in particular. But no, the elders and people like Rowley, African pride, yeah. Despite these explanations, the decision continues to trigger intense discussion on social media regarding cultural celebration and national identity. My response: Trinis only pretend as though that Ganges has met the Nile. But in reality, segregation still exists in our beloved country. People keep comment when I made that comment online. Oh, what are you talking about? I said, but watch what happened today. Well, that was yesterday. I said, watch the comments. Watch what people obsessed with and have a problem with. Have a problem with. People just decided to try to, make the event a little more unified. And they took offense to that. This should have been considered as a presentation which shows that our cultures have integrated, and therefore we can feature all genres of traditional music, Emancipation Day. That is what I looked at it as. As much as it looked a little weird, I ain't lying to tell you that. It looked a little weird, but I understood the message behind it. I don't think it was to insult the African people or try to say that East Indian people endured slavery. I do not see it that way. Right? I just don't. It had to become a controversy because Africans are still chanting, "Leave we they alone. You are not one of us." I see the comments online all the time. As a matter of fact, they actually tell East Indians who have been here for generations to go back home, as though Trinidad is not our land too, And I don't like to say our, because I am mixed. But half of my heritage is East Indian, so that's why I could afford to say our, right? I'm a Trinidadian, born Trini. My father, East Indian, Trinidadian. My grandfather, East Indian, Trinidadian. his parents and all, Trinidadian. But you want to tell my people, half of my people, to go back to India? Why? Because we came in a different way to y'all? God have mercy on this country, you know. God have mercy on this country. To be fair, though, and this is why I'm telling you all, to be fair, Indos behave in a likewise manner. I don't think as extreme, but in a likewise manner for Diwali, right? But remember, that's a religious event. But nevertheless, I did not agree with it. And I got in a lot of trouble with online people because I defended Christians who had no right to be posting anything about Diwali in the first place. But people that did, right? And they had meat in their dish. So what? You decided to post a thing and say Happy Diwali. As a Christian, I would just say, enjoy your holiday, but I wouldn't actually post any picture and stuff like that or video or anything like that about that day. Right? I just tell my friends and them, enjoy your holiday. Right? But nevertheless, and they made a whole big issue about it, a whole big controversy over it. Oh, how dare you put meat in your video when saying Happy Diwali? So you see, people, once again, it's all about obsession. It's all about, you can't just appreciate and say, well, that person is not a Hindu. So they will not follow our customs and practices and whatsoever. But they're still showing appreciation for our day. So you know what? Thank you. Nah, a big controversy, I'm telling you, a big controversy. I think that was one of the times I ended up falling out on the ground report because of that controversy. So I said, to be fair, Indos behave like in a likewise manner for Diwali, but I wonder if there are any videos showing Africans performing their traditional dances on Indian Arrival Day or for Indian Arrival Day. Maybe not. I can't remember seeing any. But maybe there were in the past. I don't know. I will have to Google it and try to find it and see if there were any sort of African events in the past. So probably even on the PNM. Where for Indian Arrival Day, they were trying to show unity as well. And therefore they showed the East Indians came. But remember, it was the PNM that tried to make it just Arrival Day because so many people supposedly arrived. No, it was the East Indians that arrived on that day. Remember? And that is why we brought it back as Indian Arrival Day, I believe. Right? At least we're supposed to. I think we did. That's why I don't really study them things that much. Anyhow you take it. But nevertheless, so, I don't know. Maybe there are. And if they did, I wouldn't call them boldface or anything like that. It's just that they wanted to show unity and show that, we are one people at the end of the day. I'm celebrating with you, but I am African. So I'm celebrating with you as an African. And I appreciate your culture. But I'm showing you that we combine, we have Douglas in Trinidad and Tobago, so much of Douglas. Some of the most beautiful people in Trinidad and Tobago are Douglas. I'm not saying that these pure races aren't beautiful. Don't get me wrong. Beautiful African people, beautiful East Indian people, Chinese, whites, Syrians, Lebanese. But the mixed up gives such a unique type of look. God bless the mixed people of Trinidad and Tobago, I'm telling you. Matter of fact, our perspectives are quite different. The way we think of things, quite different to the purebreds in Trinidad and Tobago. I wanted to say, what the heck is wrong in featuring different genres of music, which conveys a message of true unity? Ganges come meet the Nile. Singing it, We have a problem with it. It's disgusting to see how so many in our nation are still obsessed with our colonial past. You can remember these things. Nothing is wrong. Even the Jews remember when they came out of slavery from in Egypt and so forth, and so many other different events that they have. But you cannot allow these things to consume you and destroy your minds and cause segregation, people, in this day and age. So many years later, and you all still want to just separate our peoples and then pretend to be, we are one people and doubles. Yeah, everybody loves doubles. Everybody loves doubles, but you're standing up with the East Indian man eating the doubles, and all you're studying about is Africanism, and the East Indian man only studying about his East Indian heritage. While we're supposed to be one people, my foot. One people, my foot. That's not how Trinidadians behave at all. The mass population don't behave like that. People like myself, yeah. I look at African people and I say, they are human beings just like me. I look at East Indian people who are mixed too. I look at East Indian people and say, well, they're part of me, but they are human beings just like me. I look at them as Trinidadians in spite of their culture. Their cultures are different. I lean more on the African side of culture than East Indian and white. I lean on more on those sides, the white and the African side of culture. But yet I still appreciate and respect the East Indian culture. Why can't we all do that as Trinidadians instead of still being obsessed about something that happened so long ago? You can remember it. You can reflect on your past without being obsessed with it. That is my message.
Weather report for Trinidad and Tobago on Sunday, August 2nd, 2026. The weather forecast for Trinidad and Tobago on Sunday, August 2nd, 2026 features partly cloudy to occasionally cloudy conditions with periods of rain and heavy thunderstorms due to the passage of a tropical wave. Temperatures will peak at a high of 28 degrees Celsius and drop to an overnight low of 24 degrees Celsius. Humidity will remain high around 82%, driving the peak heat index to approximately 32 degrees Celsius. Light to moderate winds will blow from the east to east-southeast at 5 to 30 kilometers per hour. A medium to high chance of 40% to 65% of thunderstorm activity is expected, particularly from the morning through the early afternoon hours. The Trinidad and Tobago Meteorological Service warns that street or flash flooding is likely in heavy downpours. Mild to moderate concentrations of Saharan dust will remain present in the atmosphere. Sea conditions are expected to be slight to moderate in open waters. Wave heights will range from 1.0 meter to 1.5 meters in open waters and near 1.0 meter in sheltered areas. Swell heights will range from 0.5 meters to 0.8 meters with a swell period of 7 to 10 seconds.
International news now. The Israel Defense Forces has come out in unusually strong language against the recently increasing phenomenon of settler activists attempting to illegally cross the border into the IDF-held security zone in southern Syria, seemingly to set up outposts in the region. Come now, man. You will be given the radical left and the jihadists excuses to say, you see, they just want to take other people's land. Biblically speaking, most likely all those areas are supposed to really belong to y'all. But come now, man. Now is not the time to do that. In due time, God will restore all your land to you. The area that you have right now, rightfully yours. It was given to you even by the British, so is rightfully yours, biblically and legally. Relax yourself, no man. Relax yourself. It's the same thing. Or you're going and somebody activists that I'm trying to go, I think Gaza as well. Now, Gaza definitely should belong to y'all, right? Just like the West Bank, which is Judea and Samaria. But do it the right way. Wait until the government decides what it is they're going to do. But remember, Trump just wants peace. Trump causing a whole set of problems and limiting the amount of security that Israel even has in those particular kind of areas. So this is why this kind of nonsense could be happening. On Thursday, the IDF confirmed another incident in which 2 Israeli civilians arrived at the Mount Hermon area and crossed the border to Syria. This came after 3 other activists managed to remain in Syria almost a full day before being detained. Come now, man. Use wisdom, now, man. All you're going to do is give more reasons to the radical left and the jihadists who despise you all to say, you see, all they care about is taking people's land. Don't do that, man. Don't do that. An estimated 49,000 people have entered Ceuta from Morocco in just 24 hours. I reported about this a couple of days ago, or probably even yesterday. Number was much smaller then. Now, this is a crisis, people. It reached crisis stage. According to Spain's Interior Ministry, equivalent to more than half the population of the Spanish territory in North Africa. Riots and clashes with security forces were reported throughout the night, alongside reports of damaged private property, vehicles set on fire, looted businesses, and homes being illegally occupied. Well, people like chaos. Maybe it's time to call a state of emergency. This is chaos, people. And it's times like this, that is when you need to call a state of emergency temporarily until they get things under control. Don't do like Trinidad and use it to fight crime. At least 18 people have died. Wow. That is a crisis. Well, what else you will call? That is what I'm telling you. That is a perfect example of a crisis. At least 80 people have died attempting to reach Ceuta, while thousands have reportedly been left sleeping in parks on sidewalks. They call that an invasion, An invasion. Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez is traveling to Ceuta as authorities respond to the rapidly escalating border and humanitarian crisis. Get it under control, get your military involved. The police don't seem as though they are capable to do it on their own. What are you going to wait on until there's a full invasion and I don't know if it's jihadists or whatever, and the jihadists and them decide to declare Sharia law there in that territory? These leaders nowadays, boy, they're weak and they're woke and they're waste. Total waste of taxpayers' dollars.
Psalm 26, 1-3. A prayer for vindication and integrity. Clear my name, O Lord, for I have led a blameless life. I have trusted in the Lord without wavering. Put me on trial, Lord, and cross-examine me, test my motives and my heart. For I am always aware of your unfailing love, and I have lived in obedience to your truth.
Folks, that brings us to the end of today's news report. Thanks again to everyone who continues to support my content. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Stay blessed and stay safe most of all. In Jesus' name.